This week on the Roth Guy, Jude, I'm going to throw some financial myths at you. We'll take 4 or 5 of these here that still could wreck your financial setup, your financial strategy. And these are myths that just keep kind of hanging around that sometimes people, think, is the good way to go. So we'll talk about them. I'll get your kind of thought. I'll let you play Mythbuster here and see what your thoughts are on these. How you doing this week? You doing all right?
Oh, doing great. When you said Mythbuster, I automatically started hearing the theme to Ghostbusters in my head.
That was
Don't
great.
sing.
Great movie, great show as well. So go check that out. But anyway, so let's talk about some financial myths, right? So I'm going to give you some random ones and let you just kind of react to them. All right.
Let's roll.
Since these, YouTube reaction videos are all the rage, we'll just kind of do that. So the more a financial plan weighs, Jude, the more valuable it is. So if you got War and Peace coming out of your financial advisor's office, if you got something like this, it must be awesome.
It's so funny to me because early on in my career, that's exactly what we used to do. We had these huge, thick books that we would give to clients, take their data. And what I found was most of it was template and boilerplate stuff. Bunch of graphs, a bunch of statistics. But what actually pertained to the client's goals, needs, and planning probably could have been fit on less than 5 to 10 pages. And so, yes, that is a myth that if you got some provider giving you a Bible-sized financial plan, it may not be 100% necessary for you to get to your goals.
Yeah, a lot of people now kind of do simple one pagers or it's a few pages because you do have to have some of the disclosures and things in there. But I think the meat and potatoes for people, Jude, to your point, is definitely much smaller nowadays.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the last thing I'll say on this particular topic is that, most people that come into our office have 3 or 4 things that they really want to accomplish. And then through our process, we tell them not only about the risks they do see, but the risks they don't see. And then draw up a map on how do we get you from point A to point B. Yeah. Those things do not take a Bible-like book to be able to express to you, go over, analyze, and discuss, and come up with action items to really facilitate getting to your goals.
Well, that's a great point because these giant plans, are you going to read it? Are you going to follow it? Are you going to be able to implement it? Most people aren't, right? So having something actionable that addresses pain points, I think, is exactly right down the alley, so to speak, that people are looking for. So that's a good one. All right, good job on that first one. How about this one? My spouse will be fine when I'm gone. They're only going to need half as much money as we had together. That's a myth that keeps hanging around. People think, oh, well, the bills are going to get cut in half once one of us dies.
This is one that pains me particularly because in my 27 years in this career, I've been fortunate enough to take clients from their working years to retirement years. And I've also walked alongside them during tragedies and spouses passing away. Yeah. So from a financial planning standpoint, what actually happens is oftentimes the bills don't go down that dramatically. But the most important thing that people miss is their tax filing status. You were filing married. Now the surviving spouse has lost that deduction and has to file single. And so taxes could possibly go up while income has remained the same, meaning the net in that surviving spouse's pocket is less. So there has to be some planning around that.
Yeah, and income may not stay the same, right? If you do have a pension, if you didn't select the spousal continuation, that could drop it. And of course, you're going to lose at least one Social Security, right? So you got to bear those in mind, especially, and that tax one is one that catches a lot of people off guard because it's like, let's just say for 30 or 40 years, you've been married filing jointly, and all of a sudden you're just got to file single and you hadn't really thought about that, right? All the brackets shift, everything changes. What's the number, Jude? Is it more like 80, 85% of the income you'll probably still need, right? Because some things are going to come down.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's not going to be that drastic of a drop of the income need. And psychologically, you know how it is. When life changes, we don't dramatically drop our lifestyle. Something else fills in the gap.
Yeah, and who wants to, right?
Exactly.
You've lost your loved one. You're not looking to go backwards, so some things will change, but it's not like your property taxes get any cheaper. It's not like, if you have a mortgage payment, they don't reduce the price of the mortgage, right? So
100%. And all these things that you mentioned, and on top of it, taxes, we know that all these things are becoming more costly, not less costly as time
yeah.
goes on.
Well, again, you gotta be careful of the myths, right? They're out there. They've been there a long time, but they're not really factual much. Maybe once upon a time they were, but they certainly aren't now. Let me give you a couple of other ones here, G. We'll do another one or two. Social Security will take care of most of my retirement income. All right. So myth or not?
Holy cow. A big myth for most people.
Look, it's a lot of money. It can be a lot of
Right.
money for people, right? And can people survive on just Social Security? Yes, my mother does it, right? But it's not the retirement she wanted.
Yeah, it's not the retirement of your dreams if you're surviving just on Social Security. And like you said, some people can do it. Got a
Yeah.
few clients that do that. Not very many, but I do have a few. The thing is that Social Security is meant to supplement your retirement. It's
Yeah.
not to be your retirement. And so most people now are planning, and some of my younger clients believe Social Security won't even be around when they retire. So we've got to plan for the additional income that may be necessary.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to strategize for it, and you want to use it correctly because it can be a big chunk of money. Don't get me wrong, right? I mean, certainly filing the right way for your situation, but it's probably not going to be able to handle everything. And if it does, it's again not going to probably be the retirement that you wanted. All right, Jude, another classic for you. I'll be in a lower tax bracket when I retire. That one's been around forever, and most people, correct me if I'm wrong here, but most people wind up staying in the same bracket.
Yeah, particularly the clients that we serve who have been high earners their whole life.
Mhm.
They've been saving really well, putting money in their 401k, 403b. They may have a pension. And then when you calculate all that money and the distributions that they have to take out, their income level doesn't usually drop that much. They're usually pretty much in the same tax bracket or maybe one tax bracket lower. So it's not a huge change as far as their tax bracket are concerned. But here's the thing that most people don't talk about. As we've seen the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, it's not only the brackets that we need to be concerned about, the number, but the width of the bracket.
Right.
How much money falls into that bracket, because the government can play with the width of the bracket, meaning it takes less income to jump into the next higher bracket. And we've said on this show and in my seminars and workshops, we all believe that tax rates may go up in the future. How they go up is outside of yours and mine control. The politicians are going to decide what the actual taxes are and the width of the tax brackets.
Yeah. And maximizing those steps is where people get really confused, Jude, because we don't do this every day. And that's where getting some extra information, education, coming out to a seminar or having a strategy session with someone like yourself is important, because I think a lot of us think, oh, well, I'm in the 24% tax bracket, so every dollar I make is taxed at 24%. But that's not how it works. You're filling up the bracket steps on your way up, which is why we often talk about maximizing a Roth conversion if you're going to do it, so that you don't bump a tax bracket.
You're absolutely right. And it's something that if we pay attention to and work with a professional, or if you really understand this yourself, there's so many strategies around understanding the width of the bracket, like tax bracket bumping. We don't have time to go into the details about that, but I just wanted to give an example of how powerful it is to know how these brackets work and what strategies need to be used to get the most out of understanding your income and your potential income in the future in regards to these brackets.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Jude. And, again, understanding and learning how your brackets, your numbers, where you fall, and how to maximize those steps, can certainly be a good way to be tax efficient. So worthwhile to have that conversation, if nothing else, right? If you take nothing else from this financial show, take that, right? So let's do one more here. I'm going to give you, which one I want to, I'm going to look these, which one I want to give you. I'm going to give you a fun one here. All right, Jude. And this is actually a classic as well, because it does. This one's tough. Once I retire, my financial decisions will get easier,
Well, to a certain extent, you're kind of right. You
right?
anticipate that the kids will be out of the house. maybe the mortgage will be paid off, and you kind of look forward to that being a simpler life. Unfortunately, it doesn't always happen that way. Life
Right.
throws us curveballs, particularly since we don't control how some of the laws have changed. There's been the passage of the Secure Act 1.0, the passage of the Secure Act 2.0. There's been the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. All these things changes the calculations on how we do planning and how that may affect the income that's coming into your door. So yes, in some sense, life gets a little bit easier, but as always, keep in mind that it's good to have somebody on your side that you can focus on just living your life, and they can focus on the planning of your income, your net worth, and how taxes may be affected.
Yeah, I think financial decisions in some ways do get a little easier, but they also get more complicated in others, right? So they kind of, I don't know, it's like some of them get, I guess less impactful in some ways and more impactful in others. It's kind of weird. I mean, it's life, right? I mean, there's always going to be something kind of going on. So getting help, especially in this phase, is really important. If anything, I would say it can be a lot more complicated, especially if you're trying to do it yourself, because as we've talked about many times on the show, if you pull one lever in retirement, it might affect 7 or 8 more things down the line, versus just accumulating money. It may not that be as big a deal when you're kind of, building your wealth. So if you need some help, reach out to Jude and the team, get some time onto the calendar. We'll have links in the show descriptions below. Just click on one of the links, go by the website, drop them a line, let them know you need some help. We'll have the phone number there as well. Of course, the phone number's been on the screen the whole time as well for those checking us out on YouTube in video form. But if you do need to reach out to them, it's 800-779-4592 if you're listening in audio form only, 800-779-4592, or visit them online at centrustfs.com. That's centrustfs.com. And again, we'll have links in all the show descriptions on whatever platform you guys use. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, and of course right here on YouTube so you catch more of The Roth Guy in the future. Jude, my friend, thanks for breaking down the myths.
Hey, we're the financial myth Ghostbusters today.
All right, well, we'll see you next time here on The Roth Guy. Catch you later, folks.
Financial planning and advisory services are offered through Prosperity Capital Advisors, PCA, an SEC-registered investment advisor with its principal place of business in the state of Ohio. Centrus Financial Strategies and PCA are separate, non-affiliated entities. PCA does not provide tax or legal advice. Insurance and tax services offered through Centrus Financial Strategies are not affiliated with PCA. Information received from this podcast should not be viewed as individual investment advice. Product discussions and illustrations are hypothetical in nature and will vary based on many factors, including but not limited to age, health, product, insurance carrier, and product design. You should consult the insurance carrier website and policy for detailed information. For information pertaining to the registration status of PCA, please contact the firm or refer to the Investment Advisor Public Disclosure website, www.advisorinfo.sec.gov. For additional information about PCA, including fees and services, send for our disclosure statement as set forth on Form ADV from PCA using the contact information herein. Please read the disclosure statement carefully before you invest or send money.